Yeah, you do have to be 18 to be a representative around the table, unfortunately. Welcome back to this meeting. We're getting there, team. So we're moving on to item 7.3, road stopping and easement agreement on page 151 of our agendas. And I have Alison Law, our project manager, here to present it.
Kia ora koutou. Given that it's reasonably straightforward procedure matter, I was just going to take the report as read.
Do we have any questions? Any questions? Anybody online? Yes, we have a question from Councillor Halliday.
Sorry, be with me for 2 seconds. Right, okay. Just wanted some clarity, through you, Madam Chair. In regards to the piece of land and the work that's going on in the transport hub, is there a footpath that's connecting where the transport hub is on the Coastlands side all the way along the old state highway?
No, so there'll be a footpath from the intersection that takes them to the bus stop, but then otherwise it's traversing through the car park as they do at the moment.
So for clarity, if I'm a person who's maybe elderly or disabled and I want to get across to the other side of that exit, if you like, coming out of Coastlands, how do I do that?
From the intersection when you go into Coastlands?
If I come off the train.
Come off the train?
Yeah, so I come off the train.
Go across the main road, across the raised table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you can follow the footpath all the way around the way that it is now to get to the front of the mall. So round in front of the shops.
Yes.
Yeah, and then to get out to
the other side. So as you drive out of Coastlands, okay, and you can go left or right onto the old state highway. How do I get? If I'm an elderly person who just say wants to get to that retirement home, just a little bit further on down the road, how do I get from the railway station across that little bit of road?
Okay, so you have to cross the road, go through the car park, and then connect up with the footpath that's on the corner at the intersection and down.
Nope.
I think if you're coming off the train,
yep,
and you want to head south,
you can't, can you?
Yes. If you cross the road at the raised table, there is a new footpath now on which runs parallel to the road, which will head all the way and connect up to basically the shared path that goes all the way to Harker Street.
So it goes right the way through, does it?
Yeah. So there's a bus stop. If you're on the western side of the current state highway, so you cross the road, you're heading south towards the. If you head to Coastlands, if you want to head to that, or if you want to head to the Harker Street, there's a shared path that will take you all the way on that side of the road and aligns. And there's a new, so we cross the Wharamuku. Currently there's a narrow little footbridge. They're putting in an additional footpath.
Oh, radio. So you would go past Countdown.
Yeah, you can walk.
Hang a left, and there'll be a footpath connecting up past the pizza place, Mediterranean.
Yeah, as long as you stay,
okay.
If you don't go into the Coastlands car parking area, you can stay outside of external to that, and there's a footpath that will take you all the way south. If you go into the Coastlands car parking area, the only footpath is the one that runs down past the bakery, on the northern side, basically, and links up to Countdown, and you can walk around. But you shouldn't need to do that because there will be a footpath actually adjoining the old highway. There's where the pedestrian crossing is.
If you could check on that, Alison, would be much appreciated. Because I think you might find, just wanted some clarity on that one.
Well, we did actually, what we should definitely do is lock in a site visit to have a look at how it all links together, because we've talked about a couple of times how it will function in terms of access across and what that looks like, so that's probably a good thing to...
Once that's our site, we can...
And could I also just get clarity, in regards to the map, it talks about Coastland Parade, is it? Sorry, just going by my memory here. Yeah. Who owns that piece of land?
So we do. And
that's why we've got the easement through the car park to go to that piece of land.
Yes, because we're closing the left-hand turnout off.
Yes.
Yeah, so the
No.
easement is required to give that legal access.
That's because of, I should check on the, that's fine, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? I don't believe so. Do I have somebody who'd like to move? Councillor Compton, seconded Councillor Halliday. We have happy to move all the recommendations at once. That's fine with the mover. So we have recommendations A to G on pages 151 to 152 of the agendas. I'll put that to the vote now, unless you want to say something. No, nobody seems to want to say anything about it. I just want to say congratulations. It looks like the work's going really well, and really looking forward to its completion. It'll just be fantastic. So, okay, so I'll put that to vote. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. So our next item where's the start of it? Yeah. Is 7.4 Omicron Business Assistance Package. Is that right? That's the next thing? Yep. And we have Mark Ward present this. Eve, we still have a quorum as long as we only have one person leaving the room at once, because we can count. Oh, Jocelyn's back online, so we can have two leaving the room. Yep, we're all good. You can still form part of the quorum. Do we? No, you can't. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so we do have 6 at the table. We have Councillor Hanford online and Councillor Pravanov, and we have 4 of us sitting here at the table, so we're just squeaking through.
You'll find on the quorum anyway, because even if they're not at the table, they still count as a quorum if they're not voting.
Great, so just a clarification that even if somebody removes themselves from the table, they're still part of the quorum of the meeting, so we're all good. Thank you. Mark.
Kia ora, elected members. Thank you for this opportunity to put some recommendations to you around the ongoing impact of the Omicron pandemic on the hospitality and retail part of our economy. We see this in the market view figures, as you'll see in the paper, if I could take it as read, and also in the survey results from retail and hospitality businesses that the ED team have brought together. So when we saw the effects in February, beyond the Christmas period, where there was some really good performance in the retail and hospitality sector, when we saw that sudden drop with Omicron and an ongoing drop, so that hasn't gone away, it continues as a trend. I have with me the very latest market view results, and they're showing that very same trend. Just for example, we've got clothing down 5% on the same week last year, so that's the most recent data. That is data from last week. We've got hospitality down 10% and general retail down 13%, whereas fuel and automotive is up 40% in value, so that's just an inflationary impact there. So it looks like this is an actual trend. The council has been very responsive throughout the COVID-19 response and now into this Omicron phase, where we've been targeting the marketing of our retail sector and our hospitality sector, especially with the opening of Transmission Gully. However, the team working with SLT and then working across a couple of other teams, in particular the environmental health, compliance, licensing team, and also finance, just wanted to work out how can we put something together that's really tangible and that responds proactively to the current situation. It's not going away. The same problems are there: labour shortages, cash flow problems, and increasing cost of living for these actual businesses. So that's in the form of interest, rent, if rent's gone up, wages, the minimum wage got passed, etc., etc. The central government response has always been well received, but you have to have lost 40% of your revenue in that period that you're seeking some assistance, and not all businesses can access that at that particular time. So we've put to council the option of two interventions. One is an extra investment in very targeted marketing, which we've positioned at around about $50,000, would just about do that properly, and then also working across council with the other teams, a package that allows for 12 months of relief from the food plan fees for food businesses over a 12-month period, backdated to the 1st of March, and so in their 30 June statement they will see a credit for that period, and we've worked out the details on that and how to make it tangible for them. So if there are any other questions, also just one more point, in this paper we haven't gone into some of the potential longer term impacts from the global scenario, which were outlined to us in good detail by Brad when he came in and did an update on our economy. So Brad Olson showed us that actually globally there are a lot of systemic problems that are going to continue to wash over us, never mind the health impacts of whatever flu or pandemic also come through. So it seems like a really good time for us to put forward this recommendation to council to be on that proactive footing. Happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Any questions? I have Councillor Compton first.
Thank you. Through the chair, it notes in the paper that there's an additional cost to council of $95,474, and that's obviously in the cost of the $50,000 cost of the marketing package and the waived fees. Now, normally when we have something like this happen, there's always a conversation about where that funding is coming from.
Yes.
So,
Indeed.
the question: where's that funding coming from?
Indeed. So Ian may or may not be online, but right from the word go, we worked out that we will work it out within existing budgets. So, for example, this financial year, we've set aside some for this to move quickly into the space of targeted marketing within the ED team. And then going forward, it would be managed again, looking at various options for how we can carry these costs within existing budgets. So it is an additional cost, but we're not necessarily asking for additional funding from council, but we will manage that accordingly.
David.
Thank you. Next I have Councillor Halliday.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. And that's usually exactly the same question I was going to ask. But the other one I will have is, and it's fantastic seeing this response, with regards to the targeted marketing, is there any sort of, I'm sure there will be a plan around that, but is it sort of be gearing towards the little townships as such, or industry focused as such? Is it sort of area focused or industry focused?
It's going to be area focused in the main. So we've done a draft marketing plan just in readiness for this meeting. Mm-hmm. So that's all ready to go. Cool. We've got it all lined up, and it will be focused on 5 centres across Kāpiti. And there'll be obviously the 2 industries that will focus on are retail and hospitality, but it'll be with a very, very strong lens on Raumati Village, Parapara Umu, Waikanai Township, Otaki, Paikakariki.
Lovely. The only other thing, wasn't it? I'm afraid it's not relevant to this paper specifically, but generally a general sort of thing is, as part of the relief package, we forgave the cost of putting tables on sidewalks. It might have been before you joined us, to be honest, Mark. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, has that been extended as such? Do you know, or has it been encouraged as such?
By tables on sideboards, you mean?
I can.
On sidewalks, sorry.
Yes, on
yes, of course.
On sidewalk.
To my knowledge, that's not ongoing. To my knowledge, mm-hmm. There were a number of packages put forward at the time. that included that alcohol licensing permission to go onto the sidewalk. I don't believe that's ongoing. Other things have overtaken that, other policies.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I was going to ask the same question that Gwen asked.
You can always say
funding.
asked and answered.
No, because I found another question within the question. What were you foregoing? What are we foregoing spending their money on if you had their money?
Yeah. Well, if I can only speak in terms of the marketing side as opposed to the fees. The fees side. But perhaps someone else can address the food licensing fees. So, with marketing, what we will do is we can't forego the strategic marketing that we do under the Destination Management Plan. That's business as usual. Council signed that off last year. So that's a very active program which is out there at the moment. So basically we'll have to find savings in relevant areas that we didn't necessarily anticipate we would have to find. So that will be an ongoing thing over the next 6-7 months.
But in order to put this paper forward, you're comfortable that you can identify those without causing something else to fall over or having to come back to the table and ask for more funding.
Yeah, I guess reprioritisation doesn't mean you completely stop something. It just means you might phase it. You might take a different approach. You might be even more aggressive with any external RFPs you put out in terms of what costs you're prepared to incur on those. So cost savings, I guess, like any business would do, is what we'd look to do over our next financial year to mitigate any impact on the strategic marketing that we must continue to do.
With the marketing, you mentioned that it's going to focus on the 5 areas and the 2 sectors. How much marketing have we done previously that actually focuses on our individual towns? I'm just not aware. And so at what stage are you building on previous marketing, or at what stage are you jump-starting this?
We have done targeted marketing for Raumati Village as part of the activation of that village, working with the business association there, and as an ongoing program of helping activate other town centres, like especially Waikanai, Mahara Place. Again, we've got another plan in place for that. So the nice thing is the Omicron response package augments rather than replaces. It adds further urgency, gravity and focus to each of those plans. Otaki has had a lot of work done by Elevate Otaki, for example, so we would build on top of that, working with their board. The chair of that board is already talking to us quite closely about how we market their positioning going forward, especially with that expressway opening up. So all these things do dovetail together, if that answers your question.
I think it does. And in terms of the flexibility, like Mahara Place, I think we can probably around the table agree that that's quite difficult to market at the moment, given that it's not open for business per se, and there's a lot of empty shops just there at the moment. Where am I going with this? Are you going, I would wonder whether marketing that particular centre at the moment is a good idea or actually a bad idea.
The shops that are there at the moment are, of course, critically dependent on the visitors, the locals that shop there. So we'll just keep marketing the shops that are available, that are there. And as I said, we've already started working with other parts of council, like Alison Law's team. We've put together a program of how we get alongside those businesses that are open for business to activate that place so that visitors come regardless of construction, disruption, or some shops being closed. Some shops may stay closed for quite a period just because that's the position of their landlord. So we have to move beyond and start creating a reason to visit. More importantly, in that case, in Mahara Place, it's to bring the business owners together, and in some cases the landlords, to talk about where they want to go next based on the strategy that we've developed with them already. So what's the next priority? But you are quite right, never ever sell what you don't have, because that backfires on you. That's not marketing. But position the place appropriately as to what is available. And you may probably know better than me that some of the best butcher and other types of services are at Waikanai. So
I've heard there's a good cake place, but don't eat there very often.
undoubtedly.
The other question I have is, as we're moving into winter, the opportunity to get people to travel into our area is diminished, is my understanding. So is this the right time? Or is, opening of the transmission gully make it the right time?
Yeah, with marketing, as you know, is very much about timing as well. I guess it becomes even more important that people are less inclined to leave their central heated Wellington apartment and come up to Raumati to buy a frock or whatever they're interested in. So they just shop locally in Wellington. A very interesting transaction was that at the opening of Transmission Gully that weekend, more cash flowed out of Kāpiti than flowed in. And that's because if you really measured the data carefully, you see there was a net negative cash flow for that weekend. Why? Because everybody in Kāpiti wanted to test Transmission Gully. But not as many or not as big wallets came north at the same time. But that all evened out the next weekend, and from now on, because there are more Wellingtonians than us, Transmission Gully will be a net positive. So over winter, we've just got to use all of these campaigns to convince them to get out of their homes and their villas and their apartments and come up to Kāpiti. And
I can assure you, I wasn't one of those big wallets that travelled outside on that day.
I think.
Thank you.
Did you have a comment around Mahara Place as well? Acting Chief Executive.
Thank you. Mark, I was just going to add to the active promotional. We was part of the town centre upgrade and also part of the Mahara. It was really that link to the project management office and us actively supporting those businesses that are there to help market them and to help keep people coming into that space. Even though there is a lot of construction work going on there, really, it was just that work is ongoing and is a commitment we've made as part of that project. So it's not all necessarily coming from within the economic development area in terms of funding either.
Yeah, I hear there's a cafe there that's still doing really well. I hear there's a cafe in Mahara Place that's still doing reasonably well, and certainly the Mahara Iti temporary gallery is going really well. Well worth a visit in Mahara Place if you haven't visited there already. And I certainly feel for the businesses around there who've had so much construction, most recently with the wonderful Mahara Gallery project, but before that with the town centre's upgrade. So are there any more questions? Otherwise I'll be looking for a mover for this recommendation. Oh, I've got Councillor Pravanov online. Jocelyn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I've got two questions. So the targeting advertising, could we have some clarification of how that's going to actually occur, whether it's going to be done in the district or whether it's going to be outside the district or mixture, please?
Thank you for your question. It'll largely be focused on outside the district because there have been some strong Love Local campaigns that have stimulated local spending. So it will probably by definition be mainly targeted outside the district. There's some passive marketing that goes on all the time through our Kāpiti Coast NZ.com website. So there's a lot of our locals can also see that website, and our Facebook page drives all viewers to that website, so that includes locals as well. So we don't feel we have to focus as much on our local market and their spending at the moment.
Thank you for that. So if you are doing advertisements outside the district, how do you target it? So you're actually, naming specific places to go and visit?
Yes.
How does that work?
That's right, naming specific places to go and visit, all the attractions in each of those towns that I mentioned before. We target certainly certain demographics in terms of age and stage and interest. We use both Facebook and the Google ad algorithms to do so. It's paid content. It's usually in the hundreds of dollars as opposed to the thousands for those types of campaigns. It's very cost effective for reaching targeted audiences. Then we also have friends and family who come and visit throughout the year, as our research has shown that they're a big mainstay. So we're marketing to them to make sure when they visit their older family and they bring children, they have somewhere to go and they know where to take the children, and ngā manu and all of those other attractions.
Okay, thank you. So my other question, I'm just following on Councillor Halliday. So the fees have been removed for food retailers or the food industry, part of the industry, but I assume that the fees are still going to be in place for chairs and tables on footpaths and various other places outside some of these eateries?
It's a little hard to disentangle that. Everyone made the very clear decision that we won't be removing fees for alcohol type premises as such, so it's more the cafes as opposed to the bars.
So I suppose I'm more interested in this, in the seating outside, because I know there's been some quite big issues about all that previously.
The acting CE, mate.
Yeah, I can. So if you're referring, I think there was a $140 fee for having a table that was linked to assessing the site that came up during, I think, Mahara Place upgrade or the. So again, as Mark said, we're not proposing at the moment to waive that as part of this paper. I'm happy to find out where that sits at the moment in terms of its current enforcement or not, and get back to you directly, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So in terms of it'd be good to know when the charging times come in as well, whether it's from the 1st of July or whether it's, filling a whole, financial year, or basically not a financial year, so January. So that would be good to know as well, please.
Councillor, we've focused on the 1st of March being the normal financial year for businesses. So it helps their accounting purposes. So retrospective to the 1st of March for a whole 12 months. Okay. And we weren't thinking too much about the outside dining, just given the season we're moving into at the moment, but it's something we'll look back into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I apparently have a question from Community Board Chair James Westbury.
Hi, just thanks for the opportunity to talk to this. I listen with a bit of concern with regards to some councillors suggesting, is it too late, or the timing of the support for some of the businesses. I think Waikanai in particular has really been had significant difficulties. We've had our library disappear for a significant period of time. That means that foot traffic's below normal, but also I think to promote it not just to people outside of Kāpiti, but I think just internally promoting it to local residents to shop local and support local. I think it's really, Waikanai, if you look, you made the comment of shops vacating. The more you see economic decline, the more the rust sets in. So it's harder and harder to see improvements when there is economic decline, and particularly with a number of businesses really struggling there. It would be great. I can see what you're doing for the cafes, but there's some other businesses on the old State Highway 1, given all those roadworks that are going on that are supposed to have been completed some time ago, is still going on, and that will be having a significant and enduring effect on those entities. So I think, Council does need to look at putting something in place urgently to support some of those entities. Whilst I do have a conflict, I've got a business in Mahara. It's not something I need myself, but it's something I'd like to see the other businesses be supported with.
Thank you for that comment. Councillor Halliday, you've already had some questions. Do you have more questions?
Happy to move the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So the motion's moved by Councillor Halliday, seconded by Councillor McCann. Any debate? So yeah, I think that's. Oh yeah.
I'll just
Mark's-
look. All I just want to say is thank you very much, Mark. Having been a small business owner previously on the Kāpiti Coast, when times are tight, every cent counts, and even a small number like that will make a difference to a lot of people. And also another side of things was having been involved in the business association down at Parapanui Beach at the same time, not having an economic development team on our side at the time because there wasn't one. It's fantastic to, and I appreciate the support that's being put forward to the businesses with regards to attracting customers, paying customers to the area. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the economic development team for the excellent work that's been going on. And you mentioned the Brad Olsen economic health check event that was held a couple of weeks ago, and very beautifully run by our economic development team. And people are struggling out there, but when you benchmark it against the rest of the country and internationally, then obviously we're doing something right here. So yeah, thanks to the team. Councillor McCann?
Look, I just want to echo the thoughts of the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Halliday and thank the Economic Development team. And I think it's pertinent that, you know, we do ask searching questions about some of the marketing, and that was the purpose of my questioning, was to understand it, not to suggest that we're not doing it. I think we need to be well informed when we're making these decisions. So great work, team, and I'm fully supportive of this.
Great. What right of reply waived? Anybody want to comment on mine? Okay, so I'll put that to the vote. All in favour say aye. Aye. That's passed. I'll note that there are 2 abstentions from Councillor Buswell and Councillor Coots, who declared an interest at the start of this meeting. So I believe that might be us for today. Oh no, we've got to go into public excluded, haven't we? For confirmation. Hang on, where are we? No, nil. Confirmation of public excluded minutes, nil. Right, so that brings to a close this meeting. Thank you.